It was 1:07 a.m. in Mesquite, New Mexico. The desert wind pushed fine sand across the porch like sparks under the weak flicker of the motion light. Lieutenant Maria Ria Delgado had just hung her police uniform on the hallway hook when the pounding began, hard, frantic, not the kind of knock that asked politely but the kind that screamed desperation. "Mama, open up." She ripped back the deadbolt. Her only daughter, Anna, 25, collapsed into her arms. Her lip was split, one eye swollen shut, and she clutched her ribs as if something inside might shatter completely. In a single heartbeat, Ria shifted from a panicked mother to the trained mind of a cop. Stabilize, preserve evidence, get help. She wrapped Anna in a blanket, eased her onto the sofa, checked her pulse and pupils. "You're safe now." But Anna's phone kept buzzing on the coffee table. 12 missed calls. Dozens of messages from Brandon Pike, her husband. One read, "Keep quiet if you want to keep everything." Anna snatched the phone back, her voice ragged. "Don't call him, it'll only make it worse." Ria swallowed her fury, dialed the ER. "Dr. Ruth Hall, Delgado, get a bed ready, I'm bringing my daughter." With her patrol car in the shop, she called a cab. While they waited, she grabbed her own phone and began snapping time-stamped photos of Anna's injuries, logging the bruises, the swelling, the pain level. Each photo was a brick in the wall of evidence she was already building. At Mesquite Regional Hospital, the antiseptic smell cut sharp as steel. Dr. Hall moved fast, ordering CT scans and X-rays. A nurse lifted Anna's blouse and gasped at the black bruise spreading across her stomach like spilled ink. Ria stayed steady, asking the clinical questions, but her jaw was clenched so tight it hurt. Quietly, she leaned toward the charge nurse. "I need copies of every note, every photo, every page, with signatures and timestamps." The nurse nodded. They'd done this dance before. By sunrise, Anna was stable enough to go home. Ria tucked the folder of medical records under her arm, sealed photographs, discharge papers, diagnostic reports, evidence, not just treatment. Back at the house, a voice called from across the street. Mr. Yun, her elderly neighbor, waved a phone in his hand. "My doorbell camera recorded last night. It caught her arriving." Together they watched Anna stumble to the porch, pounding weakly, sobbing into the dark. Ria copied the original file, along with the hash code and metadata, storing it both on an encrypted drive and the cloud. For the first time that night, she felt steel in her spine. Their truth now had a timestamp. At 9 o'clock, the phone rang. "Ria, it's Jenna Ortiz from the county recorder's office. Your name and Anna's just showed up on a land transfer deed, signed over to a woman named Kelsey Voss. But the notary stamp doesn't match the logbook. And Anna's signature, it doesn't look right. That land wasn't just property, it was the inheritance her father had broken his back to leave his granddaughter." Ria's fingers turned white around the phone. "Who filed it?" "Brandon," Jenna whispered. "Said he was helping you out because you were busy." The abuse had moved beyond fists. It was now etched in ink inside county records. That afternoon, Ria pushed open the door of Pike's Exchange, Brandon's pawn shop at the edge of town. The place reeked of motor oil and stale bills. Brandon smirked from behind a battered desk. "Lieutenant Delgado, here to shop or to nag." Ria laid the folder down. Inside, photos of Anna's injuries, the ER report, the doorbell footage, and copies of the forged deed. Brandon's grin flickered, then returned. "Cute, but I've got better lawyers than you." Ria met his eyes, voice flat as the desert horizon. "I don't expect you to do anything. The court will." He leaned forward, eyes dark. "That girl of yours needed discipline. Don't think your badge will always save you." The words sliced, but Ria didn't flinch. She gathered the file, stood tall. "From now on, it's not your rules, it's the law." She left him pounding the desk, muttering to his friends in the back, "Call the boys." That night, the desert wind howled against the windows. When Ria reached her porch, motion light blinked again. On the welcome mat lay a plain envelope. Inside, a scrap of paper scrawled with uneven handwriting. "Stay quiet or you'll lose your daughter." She slid the note into an evidence bag with steady hands, heart hammering. "Extra patrols around Mr. Yun's house. Check the recorder's log. Draft the restraining order." Every move now had to be documented. But just past 1:30, her porch camera caught headlights gliding slow across the street. A black pickup idled, then killed its lights just beyond the camera's reach. Silence pressed in like a warning, and in that silence, Ria understood the real war had only just begun. Morning in Mesquite carried no peace. The sun was barely up, yet rumors already spread faster than desert wind. At the diner, "She's a cop," using her badge to punish her son-in-law. At the market, Anna probably made the whole thing up. You know how young wives are. Every whisper hit like a thorn, but Rhea didn't answer. She knew words weren't enough. She needed proof, layered, undeniable proof. That meant digging deeper into the forged deed. She drove to the county recorder's office, where clerk Jenna Ortiz slid a folder across the desk. "Here's the transfer Brandon filed. Look at the notary." Rhea's eyes narrowed. The stamp belonged to Hector Vale, but the official logbook showed he hadn't been on duty that day. Worse, Anna's signature was shaky, unfamiliar. "This isn't her handwriting." Jenna leaned closer. It went through faster than normal. Someone inside pushed it. Rhea requested certified copies of every page, every time-stamped entry. She left with a folder heavy enough to crush doubt. Still, she knew Anna wasn't safe at home. Too many prying eyes, too much gossip. So she moved her daughter across the street to Mr. Yun's house, where the cameras covered every corner. She called her captain, Dan Whitaker, and demanded extra patrol cars circle the block. That night, a black pickup cruised by twice, headlights slicing across Yun's front steps before vanishing. Rhea's mind was already 3 steps ahead. Brandon's weakness wasn't just violence. It was money, favors, and the people he pulled into his orbit. One of them was Kelsey Voss, the woman listed on the fake deed, the same woman seen too often at Brandon's side. Word was she liked to drink at La Paloma, a smoky bar on the far edge of town. Thursday night, Rhea slipped into the bar wearing an old jacket and ball cap. She claimed a corner booth, kept her back to the wall. At 10:18, Kelsey walked in, a red dress, dark lipstick, chin high but eyes shadowed. She ordered a drink, then froze when Rhea slid an envelope across the table. Inside, copies of the deed with her name on it and public records of debts she couldn't possibly pay. "Brandon can't protect you," Rhea said quietly, "but the truth might." Kelsey laughed at first, too loud, trying to shrug it off, but her fingers trembled as she flipped through the papers. Her face lost color. "He told me I'd get land, a new start. He said Anna wouldn't fight back." She looked up, fear and shame tangled in her voice. "I see now, he just used me." Rhea leaned forward. "You want a clean slate, testify, tell the court what really happened." Kelsey hesitated, then whispered, "I'll do it, but you have to promise I'll be safe." Before Rhea could answer, her phone buzzed on the table. Officer Luis Alvarez, one of the rookies she trusted, spoke fast. "We got an anonymous call. A man bragging that Brandon taught his wife a lesson for walking out. I tried to trace it, but the line cut." Rhea's knuckles tightened around the phone. Another voice from the shadows. Another threat in the dark. She walked Kelsey to the door, promising protection. But when Rhea stepped into the parking lot, the desert night turned against her. A black pickup roared to life, headlights blasting full force. The truck swerved close, smash. Its side mirror shattered against Rhea's car before the engine howled away into the night. On her windshield, sprayed in white paint, was a crude X. A warning, a promise. Cliffhanger. Rhea stood frozen under the buzzing neon of La Paloma. She wasn't just a mother fighting for her daughter anymore. She was now marked prey in a town willing to look the other way. After the attack in the parking lot, Rhea stopped waiting for luck. She built a strategy the way she'd been trained to build a case, brick by brick, until no one could knock it down. On the polished oak table of attorney Nathan Reese, the evidence spread out like weapons. Exhibit A: medical records, photographs of Anna's injuries, CT scans signed by Dr. Ruth Hall, time-stamped and sealed. Exhibit B: video footage from Mr. Yun's doorbell camera, showing Anna stumbling up the porch, sobbing at 1:05 a.m. The metadata verified authenticity. Exhibit C: text messages from Brandon, authenticated by phone company logs. Keep quiet if you want to keep everything. Exhibit D: the fraudulent deed, complete with a notary stamp that didn't match official duty logs. Exhibit E: a draft statement from Kelsey Voss describing how Brandon promised her land if she played along. Nathan tapped the table. "This isn't rumor anymore, this is structure, but we need immediate protection, restraining orders for Anna and Kelsey. And if we're smart, we freeze Brandon's assets before he can move them." That afternoon, they stood before Judge Avery Sloan. Rhea handed over the stack of certified pages, her pulse steady but her palms damp. The judge flipped through the photographs, then looked up sharply. "Temporary restraining order granted. Defendant is barred from any contact." Her gavel struck, echoing like a starting gun, but Brandon didn't wait to fight in court. That night, Mr. Yun's cameras caught 2 figures creeping along his side fence. One tried to pry at the window before a patrol car rounded the corner. They fled, leaving behind a torn envelope dropped in the dirt. Inside, one sentence scrawled in ink: "Don't put her on the stand." Rhea sealed it in an evidence bag, cataloged the time and location. Every threat now became another nail in Brandon's coffin. The next morning, Kelsey finally signed her sworn affidavit at an independent notary's office. Her hands shook as she read the statement aloud. Brandon told me Anna would never speak out because her mother was a cop. He said no one would believe her. He promised me part of the land if I signed. The notary's stamp hit the page, sharp and final. For the first time in days, Rhea allowed herself a breath of relief. The wall was rising higher, but Brandon struck back with a new weapon: smear tactics. That afternoon, Nathan received an anonymous email. Attached were doctored photos meant to humiliate Anna, designed to spread like wildfire through gossip channels. Rhea didn't flinch. Trace the EXIF data. The digital forensics team worked fast. Every trail pointed back to a desktop computer inside Pike's Exchange, Brandon's pawn shop. Metadata didn't lie. By evening, Nathan had drafted a request for a search warrant. They would seize the machines, the burner phones, the ledgers. They would show the court exactly how Brandon manufactured lies. But just as the warrant was about to be signed, Rhea's police radio crackled with urgent static. Unit 12 emergency, shots fired at Pike's Exchange, officers responding. Rhea's chest went cold. Brandon wasn't waiting for the law to catch him, he was escalating fast. Cliffhanger, sirens wailed in the distance as Rhea gripped the wheel and floored the gas. The pawn shop wasn't just evidence anymore. It was a battlefield. By the time Rhea reached Pike's Exchange, the flashing lights of patrol cars painted the pawn shop in red and blue. The air stank of gunpowder and motor oil. Officers had already cleared the building. No one was injured, but a single round had been fired into the ceiling, enough to send a message. Inside a battered safe, they found prepaid phones, USB drives, and a notebook filled with cash payments to names Rhea didn't recognize. Every page screamed conspiracy. The DA's office moved fast. Within a week, the courthouse was packed. Neighbors, co-workers, even strangers who wanted to see the drama play out. Rhea sat stiff-backed beside attorney Nathan Reese, her daughter Anna hidden behind her, trembling but determined. Across the aisle, Brandon Pike leaned back in a cheap suit, wearing the smug smile of a man who thought charm and intimidation could still win the day. His lawyer, a slick-talking defense attorney named Victor Ames, wasted no time spinning the narrative. Ladies and gentlemen, this is nothing more than a family squabble, a wife who bruised herself in a fall, a mother using her badge to settle personal grudges, and paperwork perfectly legitimate. Nathan rose slowly, voice calm but cutting. Let's test that theory. First came Dr. Ruth Hall, walking the jury through medical scans. She explained the contusions, the patterns of impact, the way bruises radiated outward. This was not a fall, she said plainly. It was a deliberate strike. Next, the projector hummed to life. On screen, Mr. Yun's doorbell footage filled the courtroom. Anna appeared, frail and broken, knocking at 1:05 a.m. The sound of her sobs carried through the speakers. A gasp rippled across the room. Rumors had been silenced in an instant. Then came the text messages. Keep quiet if you want to keep everything. The phone logs verified they had been sent from Brandon's number. Jenna Ortiz testified next, pointing out the irregular notary stamp on the land transfer. The official wasn't even on duty that day, she told the judge. This is fraud, plain and simple. A digital forensics expert followed, presenting the doctored photos that had been emailed around town. He traced the files directly back to Brandon's pawn shop computer. Metadata doesn't lie. Finally, it was Kelsey Voss who took the stand. She looked pale under the courtroom lights, clutching the railing for balance. Brandon promised me a share of the land if I signed my name. He said Anna wouldn't fight back. He said her mother would be too embarrassed to make it public. Her voice cracked. He used me. He lied to both of us. Brandon exploded from his chair. You traitor. His shout cracked across the chamber. Judge Avery Sloan slammed the gavel. One more outburst and you'll be held in contempt. Deputies shifted closer to his side. At last, Nathan called Rhea. She removed her badge from her blazer, set it on the table, and faced the judge. Your Honor, today I am not here as a lieutenant of Mesquite PD. I'm here as a mother. The man who hurt my daughter and forged our names is not a protector. He is an abuser. And the law, not gossip, not threats, not bribes, must decide his fate. Victor Ames pounced on cross-examination. Isn't it true you used your position as an officer to intimidate witnesses? Isn't this nothing more than personal revenge? Nathan cut in smoothly. Your Honor, every exhibit here carries independent verification, medical timestamps, video metadata, certified logs, sworn affidavits. This is not revenge, this is record. The room fell quiet. Even Brandon's grin had slipped. Cliffhanger, Judge Sloan announced a recess before ruling. As she disappeared through the side door, 2 deputies moved into position beside Brandon. The crowd leaned forward, breathless. Everyone knew when the judge returned, something irreversible was about to happen. When Judge Avery Sloan returned to the bench, the courtroom hushed as if the desert itself had stopped breathing. Her eyes swept the room before she spoke, her voice crisp, deliberate, final. First, a permanent protective order is granted for Ana Delgado and Kelsey Voss. Second, the land transfer deed is null and void, restoring ownership to Ana Delgado. Third, all assets belonging to Brandon Pike are frozen, pending further investigation. Fourth, this matter is referred to the district attorney's office for prosecution on charges of domestic violence, fraud, and witness intimidation. The gavel struck wood. Deputies stepped forward, snapping cuffs onto Brandon's wrists. The click of steel echoed like a full-stop sentence. His face drained of color, arrogance collapsing into panic. Around the room, whispers swelled, some shaking their heads in disbelief, others murmuring prayers. Rhea felt Anna's hand trembling in hers. For the first time in weeks, her daughter exhaled a breath that sounded like freedom. Justice had not erased the bruises, but it had carved out a path forward. Yet healing didn't happen in a single ruling. Nights remained long. Anna often jolted awake, convinced she heard Brandon's truck outside. Each time, Rhea sat at her side, teaching her grounding exercises from the therapist Dr. Naomi Winters, counting objects in the room, steadying her breath. Writing down her fears instead of burying them. The progress was uneven but real. Anna walked to the store without scanning every doorway. She cooked dinner and hummed an old song. The first time she laughed again, it startled Rhea so much she almost cried. Small victories mattered more than any courtroom triumph. For Rhea, the case became part of her badge. On patrol, whenever she met a woman hesitating to speak, she offered not just a sympathetic ear but practical advice. Take photos with timestamps, save your texts, back up everything in 2 places. Ask the hospital for copies of every record, check the property office if something feels wrong. Don't rely on memory, build a paper trail. Silence, she told them, feeds the abuser. Evidence starves him. Weeks later, standing on the inherited land her father had left behind, Rhea felt the wind sweep across the dry soil. The property marker was still there, sun-bleached but standing tall. Anna leaned against the fence, sunlight warming her face, her laughter carried by the breeze. That night, as Rhea clipped her badge back onto her uniform, she understood something deeper. Putting it on wasn't about revenge against a man who hurt her daughter. It was about keeping a promise that the law protects the vulnerable, even when the offender sits at your own family table. Before bed, she opened her notebook and wrote a final message to anyone who might be listening, anyone living a life too close to Anna's story. If you're in immediate danger, call 911. Your safety comes first. Document everything. Photos, texts, voicemails, back them up to the cloud or an external drive. Seek medical care and always ask for printed records. Hospitals often take photos, request copies. Check public records if you suspect fraud. Notary logs tell stories the abuser can't erase. Find allies, neighbors, doctors, clerks, attorneys. Sometimes even someone inside their circle will flip when truth is shown. Rhea closed the notebook. Outside, the desert night was quiet. No trucks, no pounding fists, no painted threats. Just the sound of her daughter humming softly in the kitchen. Ending note for viewers: if this story feels familiar, know this: you are not alone. Silence only protects the abuser. Speaking up, however hard, can open the door to safety. And with that, the Delgado family began again, not unscarred but unbroken. Justice didn't erase the scars, but it opened the door for healing, and that is what truly matters. If this story moved you, remember, silence protects the abuser, but truth and courage protect the vulnerable. If you believe stories like this need to be heard, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it so others can find strength in it. And don't forget to comment below, tell us where you're watching from. Your words might give someone else the courage to speak up. Together, we can make sure voices like Anna's are never silenced again.